council members present tonight. I'll start off with the first agenda item, which is public comments for items not appearing on the agenda. And do know that comments relating to agenda items will be allowed when we get to that specific item. So is there any public comment? Going once? Going twice? Okay, we'll close out public comment. Moving on to the consent agenda, I did request to remove item 2E from the consent agenda. We will be voting on that item separately from the consent agenda. So if I can get a motion to approve the consent agenda from A through H without item E, please.
So moved.
Can I get a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that motion was approved. Moving on to the consent agenda item that I pulled off for item E here. This is action on the easement at 110 East Thomas Street. And if I can get a motion to move that item?
Move to approve.
Second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
No? Okay, move along to the next agenda item, number 3 here, public hearing, discussion and possible action on vacating and discontinuing South 18th Avenue from South 17th Avenue to South 18th Avenue. Is there any comments or discussion from the public? Please state your name and your address, please, for the record.
Certainly. Bill Schofield, 1425 North 12th Avenue, apartment 219. I'm here representing the Lindell family, who are the owners on both sides of this street, as well as to speak in favor of the vacating. It is first part of a 3-step process where we're dedicating some new land for the street and working on some financing support through TIF. I'm here to answer questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Schofield?
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? And I'll ask again, any additional comments from the public? Okay, then I'll close comments for the public hearing. I don't think we're taking action on this tonight. Right, Eric?
We can
We
if
should?
we need to.
Oh, we do need to?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
I'll move to approve the vacation then.
Can I get a second? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those that oppose? None? Motion carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item, number 4 here, discussion and possible action on no overnight parking restrictions on the 600 and 700 blocks of South 6th Avenue and the 600 block of South 7th Avenue.
Okay,
Ellen?
there's a map in there, hopefully it's clear enough, clear as mud, as they'll say. So we've received a petition. If you look in the yellow lines in the packet, a petition to rescind or to no longer have the no overnight parking restriction in those blocks of 6th and 7th Avenue, basically from Garfield to Pardee on 7th and from Garfield to West on 6th Avenue. There was not a petition to discontinue the no overnight parking restrictions on the upper portion between Stewart and Garfield. I looked back through parking and traffic, and this was approved back in, I remember those minutes, February of 2015. It came through parking and traffic as a recommendation by DPW to have no overnight parking out there. There wasn't any public comment at that time, so it was approved through the traffic and parking. But now we have a petition to rescind that.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Thank you. I think that it reads, according to what was supplied in the packet, that the original motivation for the parking restriction was that there was difficulty removing snow in these areas during the night when vehicles were parked there. And barring the declaration of a snow emergency, there's not been a whole lot that's happened that would make that situation any different. And so in these areas where these blocks are quite narrow, if we would restore overnight parking, those same snow removal issues near the UW would resume. And so I think that, we've talked about overnight parking and snow removal and snow emergencies before, and it's my hope that we will have some options that we can consider before the snow flies again. We talked about that as far as allowing the police chief and the public works director some leniency in suspending overnight parking as needed without having to call a snow emergency every time it snows. And so I think less is more when it comes to overnight parking. So if we have areas that have it now, we're going to have to manage those areas. But if there's areas that don't have it now, where they're able to get in and get snow out, I don't think going backwards and restoring that parking is a smart idea for us. So I would not support it.
Alan, can you share with us, I think you told me earlier today that the no parking, the restriction of the no parking is all year round, correct? And I understand that in that west side of that neighborhood, we don't have large garages, two-car garages. We might not even have garages. So our citizens are being forced to find street parking. And, we've had some really rough, inclement snowstorms, right? But I'm wondering if we can entertain lifting this and maybe having us kind of maintain when we will put those restrictions in during the winter season. I did ask Alan to see what DPW, what their concerns are today. Alan, did you hear anything back from them to see the current impacts? And if we lifted this tonight, what were some of their feedback? And then feedback from UWMC too, please?
I did not get a hold of Rick, but I don't think his stance has changed as far as DPWs. I mean, obviously, they wanted it in 15, and they would be in favor of keeping it. I did not hear from the UW. They were sent a notice. I did not hear anything from them.
Okay. Lisa?
Thanks. We had a couple areas in my district where we had similar problems. And when snow removal was the concern, I think that one of the compromise solutions we worked out was that we would restrict parking during snow season. And that maybe we would lift it for summer, spring and summer, but we would allow the restriction to remain in place from November 1st to May 1st. And so during your snow season, you would still be able to keep those cars out of there, get snow removed, but then when that's not an issue, maybe we could consider a compromise where we would lift it during the months where that's not necessary.
Becky, did you have
Oh,
something?
I just was
Sorry.
wondering if we want November or December 1st. We get some snow in November, but usually not huge ones
Yeah.
God knows now. But anyway, before climate change killed us or whatever. But, because usually you could say, well, even in March you could get rid of it, but now it'd have to be almost May. So, but I'm with Lisa. I think that, we need to compromise. I think that's the best right now. There's no reason not to park only because in snow season. So,
Mr. Lehman, if you want to step forward. Can you state your name and your address, please?
I
for the
am Jim
record?
Lehman. I'm the petitioner, and I live at 636 South 6th Avenue. And and the sidewalk is beautiful back there, but we never had a sidewalk behind our house. There's no alleys on that block. So I had 11 and a half feet of parking in front of my garage before the sidewalk came in. Now I have 6 feet. I can't even fit a car in sideways. So it's my wife, my son, and myself. And in the summertime, I have my convertible. So there's 4 cars. Tuesday, Olson Paving came over, and I'm looking at putting another pad behind the one I have, but still at the most, I can park 3 cars in there. So all the homeowners signed, the whole family signed the petition. The renters, 628 South 6th, they're the other most effective. They only have 8 feet behind their garage now. So they're renters, but like the woman upstairs, Mrs. Waller, she has a carport. Well, she's going to have to, if she has any company over, she'd have to pull onto her lawn, which is an unimproved service, which it's causing a problem. And I love the sidewalk, but it took a lot of parking space away from the homeowners there. So there is also another thing that I've noted, in the the parking lot for the Parks Department, there was always no parking from here to driveway, which was on the south end of that little section in there. Now it's in the middle of that little block, so I don't know, is there no parking on that whole section? And I was hoping that sign could get moved more to the south end where it originally was. So I'm not sure what happened with when the street was done,
And maybe that's something we can
We
follow
can look
up
at
on.
independently of this,
Yeah.
actually.
yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. I just wanted to give you guys kind of why this had come along. And like I said, never had a sidewalk back there. Now we do, and it's beautiful. It gets used a lot. And it's nice having curb and gutter both sides. But I'm sure if you asked Rick for any street in the city, he'd prefer no overnight parking during the winter anywhere in town. It would make things a lot easier. In fact, it was in last April's snowstorm, it was south of Thomas Street on 3rd Avenue. My mother-in-law still owned her house. And so I was going there to shovel snow after one of our April snowstorms. And here I come around the corner, and here's a car sitting on the road. Its bumper laying in the snow, and its front fender kind of ripped open. And I'm sure it was not a happy day for the snowplow driver that day. So I understand that, but we still have homeowners in these areas. It is a home district, so.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Lehman, for sharing your input and, providing that petition for circulation. I'm sure that the council members tonight will take that into consideration. I'm open to the compromise as well. And so if one of you, go ahead, Lisa.
Thanks. Then under the circumstances, I would propose that we compromise and restore overnight parking there between May 1st and November 1st, but leave the restriction in place during the winter months.
Can I get a second? Was that your motion?
Yes, it was.
Okay, a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 So now, since you're an abbreviated council, you will give your recommendation to the main council at some point, and should I come back again for that one? Would it,
The motion will move to the full council
and
for
I'll
approval.
get a notice on when that's,
That'll be
Probably for October 22nd,
October 22nd.
the next meeting
okay,
at 6:30.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving along here to the next agenda item. This is agenda item number 5, discussion and possible action on amending sections 1.01.025, sub C, sub 1, sub B, schedule of cash deposits. And I know that Tyra is not here, but just to give a little bit of background, under the penalty section, truck routes did not exist. The bond schedule did have a $50 deposit, and the recommendation from staff is for the traffic route to be deleted from the bond schedule. Can I get a motion, a first and second? First by Becky,
I'll second.
second by Lisa.
There's so many choices.
Yeah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay. Moving along with the agenda, agenda item number 6, discussion and possible action on state municipal agreement for Scott Street intersection improvements. And Alan, do you want to take that one?
So this, like stated, it's a state municipal agreement. The financial commitments and the city's commitments are all outlined in here. I guess the majors, the municipal funds required are $71,000. This project is for the upgrade of the signals and lights, overhead signals and lights at the intersections of 5th, 3rd, 2nd. Yes, those 3 intersections along Scott. So it'd be new signals and lights. So it's a hazard elimination grant, which is a fairly good program because it's only, the cost share is very beneficial to the city.
The improvements are scheduled to be in place next year, 2020, and I believe the
Correct.
budget of the 71,000 is coming out of the TID 12?
Yes.
Okay. Lisa?
Yep, given the fact that this is an expected project and expected charges, I'll move that we approve the state municipal agreement as written.
And Becky, second? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving along to agenda item number 7, discussion and possible action on jurisdictional transfer agreements for McIndoe Street, 5th Street, 6th Street, 1st Street, and Scott Street for State Highway 52 and US Highway Business 51 reroute. Alan?
Yes. I guess the best way, you're probably all familiar with this, but the best way to look at it is on the map on the second page. So basically, the green would be rescinded, segments 1, 2, and 3 would be rescinded. Segment 1 is Business 51, and segments 2 and 3 are both State Highway 52 and Business 51. Those are in the green, and then the segments that would be the new connecting highway would be segment 1 along 5th Street, and that is State Highway 52. Business 51 would be on segment 2, and then segment 3 would be both Business 51 and State Highway 52. So it's a pretty even swap, it's just a different route through the downtown. Those agreements are attached, those were drafted by the DOT. So if they are signed by the city, then they would go back to the state to have them signed. As part of this, there was an environmental study and a traffic study, those have both been approved by the DOT. So the DOT is ready to move forward with this.
Thank you, Alan. Based on that information, I'll look for
Thank you. Yeah, this also is expected, linked to our last item, to facilitate the project with the expansion of the Y and the Aspirus Clinic. And so we've been waiting a long time for this approval, so I'll move that we accept it.
Can I get a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving along to agenda item number 8 here, discussion and possible action on a relocation order for establishing an access road off Thomas Street in order to repair and maintain the river wall. Eric, I think that's you.
So we've been working with a consultant to redesign the river wall, which has failures in it currently and has for quite some time. During that process, there's a landlocked parcel of land that actually extends into the river. And it's privately owned, the owner is unknown. But in order to have access to actually reconstruct and maintain that wall, we need to extend a road in there and then incorporate that wall. So working with the attorney's office and so outside counsel, we're going through the condemnation process and doing the notices and the outreach for that. And in order to get that right away in that road in here, this is the relocation order for that process to continue moving forward.
I just want, are you?
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to share that I will be voting no tonight on this agenda item to stay consistent with what citizens in that district have been concerned with. So I've shared that with Eric and with Alan. So Lisa, you motioned to?
Yep, I did. I'll move to approve the establishment of the access road.
Can I get a second? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No for me, Lori. Thank you, that carries. Move along to agenda item number 10, construction update for 2019 projects. Alan?
Number 9.
Oh,
Oh, number 9.
oh, sorry, oh, excuse me. Agenda item number 9, discussion and possible action on an initial resolution to vacate right-of-way at the intersection of West Thomas Street and South 15th Avenue. Alan?
I was contacted by the property owner on the map at 1406. And when the first phase of Thomas Street came through 15th Avenue, the north side of 15th Avenue was shifted over to align it with the south side. If you remember when it was first constructed, 15th Avenue from the north came straight down and there was a jog in there. Now they line up. So when that happened, there was an excess parcel there of right-of-way that's sitting there now. It just looks like the yard for 1406, but actually it's right-of-way. The lady who owns it now is interested, and she said, what happens with that land? And I said, we could just vacate and it would become partially yours, and it looks like some of it's going to revert to the other side. But at this point, what we're proposing is to vacate that existing right-of-way, or set a public hearing, an initial resolution to set that public hearing, go through the process, and it would just be a excess piece of right-of-way to get back on the tax roll. And the adjacent landowner wants that, so.
Move to approve.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, and now agenda item number 10, construction update for 2019 projects.
I can just ramble through a few of the big ones since we went pretty quick here, but Town Line Road is hopefully going to open up, finished by the next Friday. So it would be finished paving up the hill, get the striping done, and open up next Friday. If the weather looks hopefully good enough next week to get that done. Thomas Street, they're getting all the curb and gutter done. There's no asphalt down out there yet. The railroad is still on schedule to replace the crossing surface the week of the 21st through the 25th. So when that gets done, then we can put final pavement down. We're still looking at probably the first week in November to open that. First Avenue is probably the latest, or the project furthest out for completion is probably the middle of November. There's still a lot of concrete pavement to be poured out there, and then there's cure time with that, so I'm anticipating the middle of November. The streets downtown here, 2nd Street, the curb and gutter went on today between Grant and McClellan. So they'll continue with the sidewalk next week and get that buttoned up in the next couple weeks. First Street, just south of Bridge, underground utility work's done. They're building the road up there. The curb and gutter next week. Concrete pavement repair, you've seen that going down around. That's 5th and Scott are done. There's some patches up on Thomas Street that are curing out. They'll pour the other half of that. There's up on Stewart Avenue, there's some patches. And then there's some big patches at State Highway 52 and Stewart. They're gonna flip that next week and pour it, and then that'll be, people think they're just sitting, but those need to cure for probably 5 to 7 days before they can flip the traffic. So that's why they pour them. There's no activity for several days. And then they're going to move their last section of concrete pavement repair we're doing is 7th Street. We're going to start at Forest and head north until we basically run out of money. It looks like now we're going to be able to get about 3 blocks from Forest going north on 7th Street. All the asphalt paving projects are done. West Wausau Avenue should have been paved today. I don't know if it did or not. It was scheduled to be paved today. That's that sewer project out on West Wausau Avenue. Other than that, I don't have too many other projects. Or actually, we're starting, probably one project I've noticed, Sturgeon Eddy Road from Memorial Park Road to Wisconsin Street is going to start. It started now, the boring is taking place, and it'll be closed for approximately 6 weeks. That's to replace the deep sewer line in there to attach to the sewer siphon line that went across the river, the new siphon crossing over to the plant. So that work is just getting started now.
I have just a quick question. Do we have any projects that are still open where we have experienced non-weather days or days where there were not mitigating circumstances, where there's workable days where the projects were left unattended that have caused a delay?
No.
We don't have any of that on First
No.
Ave or anything?
No, I think the contractors out there, they've, especially on Town Line, they worked a lot of hours, and sometimes they had 3 crews out there.
That's good. Because last year we had some that overbooked themselves and we ended up in exactly that predicament.
No, we didn't have any of that this year.
Good.
It's been, right now they're running in some concrete shortages, but that's really no problem of their own. There's too many projects going on at once. There's too many people fighting for concrete trucks, and that's been one issue they've been running into this week. I know when I went to the 4 major projects today, and all 4 were pouring concrete, so they're all fighting for the same thing.
Okay. That's good news, though. That, I mean, we don't have any of that where you have perfectly sunny days and no work. That was concerning last time, so.
The only project I would say that went longer than we expected, and it was kind of disappointing, was Second Street, and that was no fault of the contractor. It was, we didn't have very good cooperation from Frontier and Charter to
Oh,
move
for the
their.
utilities?
To move their facilities. We waited and waited and waited, and finally, the contractor wanted to start actually a month early, but we had to hold them off because the poles weren't moved and the stuff wasn't put underground. So that was a little bit frustrating, but it looks like they're gonna get that work done, because the
Good.
curb went down today.
That's good news.
Okay, thank you so much, Alan, for the 2019 project updates. If there are no other questions, I'll move to agenda item number 11 for future agenda items. Okay, hopefully if you think of anything, we'll bring it back to the next CISM committee meeting. We did have an addendum to the agenda tonight, and we have an agenda item number 12 here, discussion and possible action on petition for annexation for Kern, 4605 Statine Drive.
This just came in this week. The Kerns, I like it, 4605, like we had said, are failing septic system, and they are interested, or they would like to annex. There is sewer and water in Statine Drive. It was put in 93 or 94, so they would pay those assessments when they annex, but they were made aware of those costs and would like to annex.
Can I get a motion to move?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Seek a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.